My name's Steve Goodgame, K5H. I'm probably blowing up people on this live stream part, but that's okay. That's what you get for not being here. I am the Education and Learning Manager for ARRL, and I am also now the Region 2 IRU Youth Coordinator. And that is my contact information there for those of you in line. Well, you can see my slides. So I like to do a lot of things with quotes, so we're going to start with this. And this is actually a quote from singer Rich Mullins, who is no longer with us. But it says, "I believe what I believe is what makes me what I am." Okay, so if you just think about that as we go through this, and this is kind of one of the driving forces behind why I do what I do. And then another little quote, because like I said, this is me. "All organizations start with why, but only the great ones keep their why clear year after year." I'll be the first one to tell you that as an organization, the ARRL has not always been clear as to what our educational motivations are, but that is changing. So we're focusing significant time and significant energy into what we're about to talk about today. So first, and this young man is here, this other guy right here is my hero, because he brought me a cup of coffee this morning. But why connect to STEM? Years ago, radio was a part of many schools. If you think back, who in here is old enough that you remember that you actually had ham radio stuff in your school back then? Okay, not so much anymore. Okay, we lost that connection as broad STEM curriculum started coming about. As time went on and technology started changing, and schools started realizing, you know what, we need to get into this whole STEM thing. We stopped. We just kind of, as a community, as an organization, we stopped. We were like, we were complacent, we were comfortable, and we're like, we're just going to keep doing this because it worked, right? We had years and years and years of this working. I mean, we have electrical engineers that figure out how to go to space and all this cool stuff. Why do I need to keep advancing this stuff? Well, guess what happened? Technology kept moving, and we didn't have any way to reach out with them anymore. So in teaching, we use this thing called scaffolding. Okay, and what that is put the pointer down, is education. We have to present something on a broad level, a base of a scaffold. You know what a scaffold is, right? When you build something and you kind of stack it on top of each other. But the key is the base of the scaffold has to be secure. It has to be strong. Okay, and then as you start building up into different areas, you just kind of build upon that scaffold. Now, the beautiful part about a scaffold is that when you decide, maybe you're exploring a little bit about digital data transfer or something using RF, and you're like, you know what, I really want to do something a little bit different. You drop down the scaffold, but you really never fall because you have that base layer that's holding you up. And you can transfer a lot of that knowledge you learned here and slide it over into a different part that's still related, still similar, still uses the same scaffold base level, but you get to explore something different. And also, amateur radio ties to standards all over the place. Okay, and there's a reason they call it STEM. What does STEM stand for? And some people like to put that A in the middle and say STEAM. Okay, whichever way floats your boat. I'm fine either way. Okay, but there's standards all over the place that match up to that. I'm going to go back there for a sec. Okay. For example, one of the things that we're doing at the league is we're developing lesson plans and curriculum to help tie into those subjects. The days of having a ham radio class are probably gone for the most part. Not many principals. I was fortunate. I had a guy that let me do it twice a day. Some of us still have those. But most of the time in school, you're going to have to tie into some standard that's taught in a different class, physics, engineering, stuff like that, So what we're doing is we're tying a lot of the things that you do in amateur radio to those standards. There's power in partnerships. And you notice I've got, it's kind of bright in here, but the slide, you've got a bunch of gears, big gears and little gears and all turning. And the reason for that is because if one organization is trying to turn everything, it's a lot harder. But when you start looking around, we have scouts that are doing some outreach stuff with kids. They're trying to create, lessons and stuff for kids. We have, I don't even know how many space organizations that are trying to create lessons for kids. We're trying to create lessons for kids. Everybody's doing something similar, but we're doing it separately. That's smart. Okay, so we're going to talk about some of those things. Partnerships for you. Now, one other thing about that last slide is I am one guy in about 160,000 member organization. I now have an employee that works with me. So we're two people in 160,000-ish member organization. I need you. Okay, so my first partner is y'all, because without the volunteers, ARRL obviously has a tough time doing things. Okay, so we can't do it alone. These are partnerships that I need you to form and help me with. Okay, schools. I can help you get into schools, but I can't go to every single school and talk to them. I need you for that. You know, go into a school, say, hey, I got this idea. This is a great thing. I've got materials I can send you. I can Zoom with them if they have questions, but I just can't be everywhere. I've tried and I got in trouble. Okay, Scouts and 4-H. That man right there can definitely help you getting engaged with your scout groups. 4-H is another organization that we're working to get into, and then there's some similar like that. And then if you are not, or if you are a part of a club, okay, you're going to find that I'm slowly over time going to reach out to your club and say, hey, teacher so-and-so came through Teachers Institute. They need help. Because about half the teachers that come to my Teachers Institute have never touched a radio before in their life. So they come to TI. We usually get them licensed in that week. They learn a bunch of stuff about how to do this stuff. Then get back to the classroom, and they start to realize, I forgot some of that. What do I do with this? Well, guess what? I can't be there all the time either, which is why we need y'all in clubs. Okay? And then we have partnerships for us. These are some of the partnerships over the last year or so that we've been working towards either kind of repairing, I guess, for lack of a better word, for example, with Scouts. Okay, there was a long dry period there. I mean, the Scout manual that the ARRL has is still dated like 1975. Okay, to places like the ISS National Laboratory, Spectrum X, which is actually funded by the National Science Foundation. They're making classes also. Obviously, everybody knows ARRL. Limitless Space, if you've not heard of Limitless Space, these people are pretty cool. They figured out that we need warp drives. I'm serious. Their whole thing is if we want to explore anything, we have to go faster because you're not going to get anywhere cool otherwise. Okay. And then, you know, by Scouts, Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts, but I'm not sure about all the political, what's called what anymore. They're working on it. Okay. So one of my main things is to focus on the vision. See, if you were here last year, I talked about how to engage youth, and I did it backwards. I should have talked about why we need to engage youth, and then this year tell you how. But, you know, what happened was I was backwards. So, you know, when I got to the ARRL, I set goals immediately. I sat down with the CEO. God, this cord is going to kill me. I said, thank you, live stream people. I got there. I set goals immediately. The CEO said, hey, this is some of the stuff we'd like to see. I said, this is some of the stuff I want to do. And he said, go forth, make new hams. And so we went forth and we started doing this. And I was setting goals, and I did have a vision. It's not that I didn't have one. It's just I was doing it kind of sort of in the wrong order. So the problem with the goal is the goal has a set ending point. It's finite. I have a point where I can look at it and I can say, that is the end. I can check it off. I can set it to the side and consider it done, and I don't ever have to look at it again. I've already been judged on that one. Psh, bada bing, bada boom, do the fandango, I'm gone. Okay. Vision's different. Vision is how we see the future. Vision is, as that same guy, Simon Sinek says, is part of the infinite game. Okay? You don't see the end of it. You don't see the horizon. You look past the horizon. You don't see the end at all. Instead, you see the way, because this is the way. Okay? And the key is focus on the vision and then let the goals feed into the vision. Don't make goals and try to force them into your vision. Okay, so I have a vision, and I'm going to share a little bit of that with you. So my vision is kind of sort of this. Radio and wireless technology are an integral integral part of STEM education. Sorry, I'm undercaffeinated. Okay, I think we know this. I think the problem is most other people don't know this yet. So what I see kids building kits and antennas in classrooms, not just once every year, but as a regular occurring thing. You know, you're teaching wavelength in physics or something like that, build a resonant antenna. Test it, see what it how it works, get on the air, and oh my gosh, they're going to remember talking to that guy in Germany on that physics lesson. I don't think you remember your physics lesson that way. I don't. Okay. I see youth on the air making contacts and learning about other cultures. Not just saying, hey, 5973, have a great day. But, hey, you got a minute to talk, and you start talking. The kid drops into, looks on QRZ, gets their call sign, starts exploring where they're from. Yes, sir. You're going to have to be a little bit louder than that. I'm an old man. It helps you out with geography, and I've got some slides about that because you're right. I see kids asking questions like, what if I tried this? All right, now who in here is a kid? Yeah. A lot of times you go to school and say, what if I tried this? And the teacher's afraid you're going to burn the building down. I was that kid. Okay. I'd rather say, what if I tried this? And it's like, well, let's find out. As long as we don't kill anybody, we're good. So we have fire extinguishers. I did have Jack Wyatt, who burned his hand with a soldering iron that time. And his mom happened to be on the school board. But that's okay. I mean, they signed a waiver. And so they're not just allowed to try it, but they're encouraged to try it. That's how I see it. I see teachers and students engaging in amateur radio as they teach STEM. Okay, you can teach a lot of things using radio and not necessarily just teach radio. You can reinforce math with it. You can reinforce reading with it. You can reinforce social studies and geography with it. And then I see you, the ham community, spreading the word about what amateur radio is and what it can do for students. And this is where we miss the boat. Because we know most of these things, but we do a really bad job down there at the bottom with telling other people about what it can do for them. Now, some of us are really good about telling them what it did for us, but it's different. What it does for me and what it did for me growing up is not the same that it's going to do for this young lady right here or this gentleman right here. In fact, I talked to this guy earlier. Yeah, he's famous. He's like, I want to be famous. Okay. And yeah, you didn't know I knew Big Time Rush, did you? Am I right? Big Time Rush? Okay. So what we like about radio is not necessarily what you like about radio. And if you're a youngster in here, my lovely bride has probably talked to you at some point about what you like about radio. And over the last year, we've talked to, well, now more than that, but the numbers in here reflect 105 kids at Hamfests that we've talked to. And so we've kind of come up with a few numbers. All right, so quick survey. Ooh, you like that little... Raise your hand if amateur radio had some kind of influence on your career. Now, obviously, kids, you're probably not there yet, but you might be. Who knows? Okay. Raise your hand if your job is actually directly related or connected to amateur radio. That means you get paid a check because you're doing something, you work for a radio manufacturer. What do you do? Okay. So obviously my job is directly connected to amateur radio, but not a whole lot of us have that privilege. And then raise your hand if you were introduced to amateur radio at school. Wah, wah. You're kind of hesitant. We're going to count. That counts. Homeschool teachers get to come to my TI. Homeschool counts as a school. It counts for school club roundup too, doesn't it? Yes, it does. Okay. So you'll see that, who am I? 2 people, I think it was, that were introduced to school. Okay, 3? Not many? That's sad. That makes me cry. Okay, so a couple little things. Why radio for STEM? And if you had a chance to get over to our booth area yesterday, we still have them there today, but Morgan was at the collegiate booth. She's a pretty cool kid, actually. She just got like an internship to NASA at Goddard. And this is her launching a rocket, and she's using, obviously, amateur radio to track it. And she was the only ham on the field that day. Oh, the old guys were just rocket guys. I say just rocket guys like it's something minor, but, they're just rocket guys. But they didn't know ham radio. So she actually had the opportunity to demonstrate to other people what amateur radio can do for them. And then this right here is a really cool project. I told some of y'all about this today, and I probably should have just shut up because it kind of ruined my thing, but that's okay because it's kind of exciting. So who in here has heard about the EELS project that JPL is doing? So they're building this little robot dude, and it looks, well, they call it an eel, but I see a snake. And it's like, 15 feet long, and they're going to go drop it on planets, and they're going to explore these planets with it, and it actually articulates like a snake. So, the current issue of Mars rover, when it drives up and it's got a rise that's taller than like a quarter of an inch, it has to find a way to go around it. But this is going to be able to actually like whoosh, and snake its way over it. It can swim, it can cross ice, it can like burrow its way through snow, it can go places that rovers can't go. That was poetic. You're welcome. Okay, but if you look closely, and I didn't expect the room to be quite this bright, but if you look closely, this dude right here has got something in his hand. What is that? Anyone? It's a cable. It's hard to go far when you're stuck to a cable. I mean, it's the end of the world and we know it. That's all I got. Okay, so we can't drag a Cat 6 cable, or that's a lot bigger. If you look at it, it's about an inch thick. So, we can't do that. I was shocked when he said, you've got the wired mic. I said, but we're wireless people. So, but you can't go very far as long as you're attached to a cable. That's the little connection. Like I said, I'm sorry about the lighting, but it is what it is. But the thing is, every kid in elementary school dreams about doing something with space. Now, granted, they all think they're going to space. But at some point, they're going to realize, I'm probably not going to space, but I still want to do something cool with space. Okay? That little spot right there is where radio comes in. Because at some point, somebody has to know enough about radio to make that thing work. Who knows? Somebody Google, how far is Saturn from Earth? Anyone? It's got to go a ways. Okay? That's a long cable. And heaven forbid you get a nick in it, and then how much? 916 million miles. The funny thing about space is once you get out to a certain distance, we don't measure it in miles anymore. It takes so long, we just measure it in years at the speed of light kind of thing. So that's a long cable. So somebody's got to figure out how to make this dude work from 916 million miles away without cable. That's where radio comes into space. One of the places. I was went up to, in Connecticut, we have a science academy on top of a mountain. It's a great place. It's like a tower on top of a mountain with a Yagi. And they've got like this little ham radio club there. And I was up there talking, and this young lady is like, I saw the rocket launch, the SpaceX one that kind of went boom. And she was like, yeah, but they blew it up. I was like, well, why'd they blow it up? She goes, well, it was messing up. I said, well, how did they know? And she said, well, the computer told them. I said, well, how'd the computer know? And she goes, what do you mean? I said, well, how'd the computer know? She goes, well, the rocket told it. I said, great, how'd the rocket send it? The internet? And I said, how did it get from the rocket to the internet then? I don't know. They have no concept that radio plays a role in anything. They've all got a few of them in their pocket. I mean, how many radios are in your cell phone? Okay. Another one. This is the little blood glucose. Anybody have one of these? Not that I want to be too nosy or anything, but if you have one of these glucose monitors on your arm, they take for granted the fact that their phone buzzes when their sugar starts dropping or getting too high. How does it know? Radio. See, we're leaving all of this stuff out of all the STEM curriculums. People are doing all kinds of amazing stuff with coding and dragging and dropping blocks. Come on in, welcome home. You're welcome here. Or not. Okay. This last one, you dream of being part of a team going to space, like I said. Yeah, well, guess how that bad boy phone's home? There's no Reese's Pieces involved for those of you old enough to get it. Okay. But radio is everywhere. If we want to go anywhere cool, kids have to understand that radio is a part of it. And schools and STEM programs are completely and totally ignoring it. All right, so Teachers are Key. I mentioned that Teachers Institute, this last summer's Teachers Institute. Like I said, the days of anyone getting into a school to sit down and teach amateur radio are gone. If you don't believe me, look at the news and see how many people are getting in trouble for doing stupid things. Okay, those days are gone. Instead, we have to focus on teachers. Teachers are the key to getting youth interested. Teachers are also the key to getting clubs involved because you have to have a grown person at the school to work with the club. Yes, sir. Actually, we have numbers to show you exactly what at least the 105 kids we've talked to say to do, and we happen to have a few of them in here, so we can get some of their tidbits at all, or as well. So they're the key to it. We have Teachers Institute. We're doing 5 of them this year. Okay, and I have the capacity people-wise, but not money-wise yet. I'm working on that. To have more, I could probably have 20 of these in a year. I have enough teachers to do it. I just need more money. So if you have some, the guy right next door to my booth, the development guy, he's happy to help you out. But like I said, we're actively seeking funding to grow. Sorry, that threw me off a little bit. Amateur radio connects across the curriculum. It has the ability to make meaningful connections to abstract projects like that antenna thing I told you about with physics. I don't remember learning about wavelength in school. I mean, it's been a while. Sterling probably remembers because he's kind of nerdy like that. Okay, but I don't remember it. But I guarantee you, if I had talked to a guy in Germany, may the force be with you. Okay, if I had talked to a guy in Germany after learning that lesson, I probably would remember that. Building kits obviously works on electrical skills. Math is pretty much everywhere, which if you're not good at math, get better. And like the gentleman who just departed said, what about social studies and geography stuff? So this is the kind of thing that I would do in my class. We'd work a station and then we'd look that guy up on QRZ. Then we'd say, hey, look, he lives in Romania. So we'd go to Google Earth and we'd drop into Google Street View and we'd kind of explore his hood. And kind of cyberstalk him a little bit. It's okay, it's all public, which by the way, kids, if you get your license as a child, there's absolutely nothing wrong with using the school address as your FCC listed address. Because, or grandparents or something like that. So, you know, if mom and dad's like, no, some creepo's gonna find you. No, I'm gonna use a school address. There's like 40 something of them tied to my old school address. They're gonna hate the hate mail later. That's okay. Okay, so you open Google Earth, you explore around there. If you're really lucky, the guy will stick around on the radio while you do that. And you can have conversations about the bakery next door and ask if it's any good. Stuff like that. That's where kids start learning about social studies and interacting with people and learning about other cultures. And then even if the guy doesn't stick around, now I don't need any hate mail about this one, but they can use that opportunity to learn about it from Wiki. Are there any teachers in here? Okay, believe it or not, Wiki is okay. I know. Well, see, I got a chuckle in the back because every now and then you get these people that are like, Wiki is evil. It's not vetted. It's not this. It's actually pretty well vetted. I like posted changed a page. What was it? Pittsburgh Penguins or something? I don't remember. We were at a conference and some guy was showing us. And like Wiki pages are graded for reliability and stuff like that. If you go to like the talk page. And so I actually changed one just to test it. I was like 3 minutes it was changed back. I was like, oh, he was right. Yeah, and they've got like that rating grading system, and that's a whole nother sermon. But I'm happy to show you if you want. What's that? I only did it once. Okay, forgiveness. I'm just gonna be honest. I've been on the forum part. Might be. Have you been on the forum part? There's some serious. Yeah, but haters gonna hate. So we can find a different way to do that. There's some windows and gateways. Hold on, because you know our live stream viewers, which I don't know how many, it might be 3 of them. I don't know. Okay, you're gonna have to step up.
All right. So in scouting, we have a whole bunch of parental and privacy issues. So in our radioscouting.us site, top right corner is a search box. You put their call sign in there, hit submit. It'll give you a generality of their city and their state or the country, and also a distance from where they're at from you. So that way it filters down their location, but doesn't give you anything else from QRZ. Radioscouting.us.
Radioscouting.us for the win. So that takes care of that. Oops, I bumped this at some point. So now they can find out where they are. Hopefully Wiki's not blocked. If so, you can go to the library and find the 35-year-old set of encyclopedias that's still on the shelf and learn something about most of the countries because, well, some of them are still there. Okay, so what do the kids say? Now, before that, I'm going to give this sermon because I vowed that I'm going to keep this picture in every presentation I do because it kind of serves as a friendly neighborhood reminder for me. Okay, so quick little story. This is the first bunch of kids that I got licensed in 2006. They're fourth graders. 3 of them got licensed. 1 of them didn't. He cried, but he still wanted to be in the picture, so I felt bad. I said, okay, buddy, you're in. Okay. I moved the next year. So I handed the club off to, now keep in mind, this little one right here started reading billboards. And we made the executive decision when she was reading billboards in downtown Dallas that this is a good time to go to the country. And so we moved to Mississippi, and I handed the club off to the secretary's husband, who was a ham, who assured me he would keep it going. And I felt good about it. I was like, thank you. Because, I just got some grants. There's a nice little station there. I had some kids licensed. I had more studying. It's been a good thing. And then the radio equipment disappeared. And then 10 years later, every one of their licenses lapsed because no one was there to actually keep them engaged. Okay, so if you are approaching teachers or if you are a teacher and you're doing this, it is more than just getting them licensed. You have to give them something to engage with. Okay, so for those of you who saw a bunch of us run outside a little while ago trying to scream into handheld radios, and I was the only one who didn't make the contact, okay, it's because some dude jumped out of an airplane and he was like calling CQ on the way down. Now you laugh, how much time do I have till the next one, Sterling? 10 or 20 minutes. We're going to go outside for a field trip. Okay? Because what happened was this. This is Carlos. If you know, he's got a YouTube channel, Kilo Delta 9 Oscar Lima November, OLN. So, yeah, life at terminal velocity. So, but he just does this. He goes up and he jumps out of airplanes and he uses the radio until he hits the ground, hopefully not too hard. Okay? And then he goes and he does it again. And again and again. And it's not, sometimes he's on, HF, but today he's doing 2-meter stuff. So if you have something cool like that, you need to just stop what you're doing and go outside and play radio because kids like that stuff. But anyway, what happened was this. I went outside with some individuals in here. Okay. Caitlin contacted him pretty much right away. I heard Sterling get in there. Child unit got him. I didn't. I still didn't. And I kept calling and calling and calling until he said, last call. Even though I knew he'd already worked the last call, I'm still yelling into the radio, Kilo 5 Alpha, take Alpha, please. Because she's standing here staring at me like, I got you. Again. Okay. So do that cool stuff. Another thing to note. Okay. I was using a $650 radio. And they were using a $40-ish Baofeng. Okay. I only bring that up to say this. It doesn't cost a lot of money to do this stuff in school. Okay. When I did this in my school, I didn't have any money. I had YouTubers. Okay. I had my YouTube channel and I funded it through there. And then people like Sterling and all the other YouTube bunch guys that you see wander around with cameras and stuff like that, they would send me radios to give kids. Almost every single one of them was one of these. This little Baofeng, except for that Kenwood TH-74 that I gave Cody. That afterwards I was like, man, what was I thinking? But he's using it for APRS, so that's okay. All right. So what do the kids say? Who introduced them to the radio? What do you think? What's the top one here? Parents, grandparents, any siblings? Okay. Parents and family, 68% of the kids were introduced to radio by somebody in the family. And I lumped them together because you're right. We had a few grandparents and some aunts, and then I had so many categories. If I separated them, I'm like negative ghostwriter. Schools and scouts were 24% of that. I'll be the first one to tell you scouts was probably 18% of the 24. Schools are not doing it. let me say it this way. We're not doing it right with schools. And then everything else, every other answer that y'all gave, kids, was only 8%. And that was stuff like, what were some of those answers, honey? They were everything from I just got curious, or I watched it on YouTube, or I don't know how I fell down the rabbit hole on YouTube. I was watching Minecraft videos. Next thing you know, I'm watching ham radio crash course. Stranger Things, which, oh my goodness. I use that video in my classroom to show them what's wrong. But it works. I mean, kids are like, I want to sing to somebody across the country. All right. What do they enjoy in amateur radio? Now, we're going to only ask the old people, which, I'm one of. What do we think that kids are interested in amateur radio? And then we're going to ask the youths. So everybody over the age of about, how old are you, Sterling? Everybody over the age of 30 years old. Sterling doesn't get to answer this because Sterling talks to a lot of youths. So he knows the answers probably. Okay. What do you think? What's the number one thing kids enjoy doing in amateur radio? Learning about other countries. Talking friends. Anyone? Is that him? Oh, that's just some random other person. What was that again? Kit building. Anything else? I noticed nobody said CW. Okay. Oh, hang on. I forgot I was going to ask the kids first. Kids, what do y'all like? What, fox hunting? Okay. Nets? What else? You count. Balloons? Talking to guys jumping out of airplanes? I mean, that was pretty cool. I mean, I didn't get to do it, but everybody else did. Okay. By the way, as a teacher, you have to be okay with that. Let's just be real. She's always beating me in Parks on the Air. She's a female ute. In fact, that's what, when Carlos was on his way down, he goes, hang on, I heard a YL in there. Maybe a ute. I don't know what it was. I mean, that's like, that voice just kind of like breaks through every pile up. So I'm blaming that on why I lose all the time. All right. Believe it or not, the number one answer was working DX, talking to other countries. Kids still think that's pretty darn cool. Okay, a lot of people say, oh, they're interested in this and this and this. Kid, that's the number one answer out of 105 people. And it was, I don't forget the percentage, like 82% of the kids said, I like this. Technical connections, I put them in that way because like there are so many different things that they do. But those kit building kids like building stuff. They like breaking stuff too. But that's okay. Let them break it. Okay, I mean, I had the same FM receiver kits for years that if they didn't work, I kept them till the next year so the kids could break them apart and then try to put them back together. And when their solder finally looked like a Hershey's Kiss, then I leave them the real one. Okay, but so kids like building stuff. And then being social with other hams. Kids are social. I know this might shock you. Kids like to have a group that they belong to. They want to hang out with their friends. It's kind of hard to be the only ham in a school. People are like, why do you have that big antenna sticking out of your backpack? Okay? So get a couple friends. And if you are the only ham in your school, guess what? There are some online communities for you. There's this weird thing, it's called Discord. Okay, now be careful which one you go into. But I'm just saying, they're there. You can do things like the YachtNet. Utes, any of y'all check into the YachtNet? Anybody not know what the YachtNet is, kids? So it's the Young Amateur Communications Ham Team, if I'm remembering it correctly. Okay, and it's like a worldwide net where like you don't even have to have a radio. That thing that they like to be on so much, you can put Echo Link on it and you can check into the YachtNet, and then talk to who knows who. I mean, maybe you can sing a song to some guy across the country or something, but you're probably not going to talk to a guy jumping out of an airplane. 35% of the people we talk to have a ham teacher at school. That is not jiving with the number of people that got introduced to ham radio at school. So I think we have a problem here. If we already have 35% of the people that have ham teachers, why don't I have at least 35% of the people that were introduced to school? Because we haven't done a good job telling them what it can do for them. Okay? And that's the problem. That's 35% of the people that if we just reach them correctly, we have more youths. How am I doing? Make sure you keep me posted on the field trip. Sweet. You have it open. Okay. This is another one. It's amateur radio. So create a culture for youth on the air. Kids, anybody ever get on the repeater and somebody was talking about their ailments or something, or they fussed at you for something, and maybe heaven forbid you said 10-4 at the end of your transmission and you got chewed out for it? Okay. Create a culture for kids. It should be obvious. Pretty much, I say pretty much, 87.4% of hams, that's an arbitrarily created statistic, by the way, believe that we should have more youth outreach and get more kids engaged. Okay? So create that culture for them, whatever mode, if they're in your club meeting, whatever mode they want to work, if they're at your field day, and even if you're busy at that station, kids like, wow, I want to try FTA. Get up. Okay, get up. Let the kids sit down. It's going to be okay, I promise. The radio's still going to be there when they get tired. Okay, get up. Let the kid get on the air. And if the kid does it for like 3 minutes, they go, this kind of sucks. They're going to say that. They're kids. Let them try the next one. If they want to come back later, don't be like, what do you mean you said this sucks? That just means they know, well, maybe I'll try it again. Let them sit down again and a second time. It's okay. Okay, but create that culture where they feel comfortable trying it and you let them try it. Teach them how to use the equipment that they can use for their license. So whatever equipment they have, every kid who in here is a kid and licensed. No, you're not a kid anymore. Okay? Yeah, well, I get told that all the time right before I get yelled at. Okay. Everybody in here who's a kid have a radio. Anybody who does not have a radio? Are you licensed? No? Are you studying? If you have are we doing testing tomorrow? We can figure something out. If you have a license tomorrow, I have a radio for you. Yeah, we have enough VEs sitting in this room that we could test you ready, set, yesterday. So, challenge accepted. How far along are you? So you're going to cram tonight, right? So I tell you what, I'll sweeten the pot. I'll sweeten the pot for you. I was going to give you the big and mighty Baofeng. It's an amazing piece of equipment. But I'm going to step it up a little bit. Since you're halfway, and I'm expecting you to pull something off. At my booth, I have a Yaesu FT70. Okay, it's a nice radio. Notice it's not here because I wasn't going to give it away because it cost me a little bit, but that's okay. If you come see me in my booth tomorrow with the CSCE or a virtual version of it, if you have to do this online, however we have to make it happen, it is yours. So, I think we close at what, 2 tomorrow? What time is this over? 1 o'clock tomorrow. Now you're going to need to connect with Caitlin here probably because I don't even know who's doing. Do you know VE testing here? We'll use Caitlin. So no, I'm going to connect you two at the end of this, and we're going to figure out so that we can make that happen. Okay, because you need a radio. Every ham needs a radio. Okay. Give a taste of what's to come later. Let them get on HF a little bit. Let them play radio. Obviously, you have to be there with them for that, but that's okay. Okay. When you hear a kid on the air, please talk to them. Don't yell at them. Okay, true story. I did have a kid who got on the air. He got his license. He got his YouTuber provided Baofeng. We programmed it. He went outside because, that's what we did. Everybody, their call sign hit. They got it. They programmed it. They went outside. They made their first contact. And some guy went and said, "You're not supposed to say 10-4," and completely chewed him out. So he went inside, he put the radio in his backpack, and he never brought it to school again. Good job. I won't say his name, Hilton. Okay? Whatever you do, like I said, don't lecture him, because you know what happens when you lecture him. Oh, hang on, this is kids talking. But we're going to skip that because I'm running out of time for the thing. That's what happens to that kid's enthusiasm as soon as you lecture him. Dead. I mean, it's been 3 years now. I promise you, he probably sold it on eBay for $8. Okay? Please don't. All right, so Elmering. Oh, by the way, you're in this slide twice. So this is my child unit being Elmered at probably 6 years old. About 6 years old. We just happened to be going to the park, and it just happened to be, I think this is actually Jamboree on the Air. So, now I want to point out, in 2006, it was Boy Scouts Jamboree on the Air. Not boy, but that's okay, because this guy was like, hey, you're a kid. Come sit down, get on the radio. She sat down, she got on the radio. She went home. I actually have another picture of her studying the ham radio license manual shortly after this. Anyway, long story short, this is her several years later Elmering or mentoring another kid on how to do Parks on the Air. That's the way it's supposed to work. You do Elmering right, the kid grows up to want to be an Elmer. She's a VE for ARRL now. When she interns with us, that's the first person they email. Jerica, you want to come do a test? That's the way it's supposed to go. So please make sure that Elmering experience is positive for them. They need to provide guidance in areas that the newcomer is interested in. If the newcomer asks, hey, can you teach me about FT8, and somewhere in the back of your head you hate FT8, please give it to somebody else. Say, that's not really my area. Here, this person loves FT8. And give them to somebody who will. Trying to force newcomers to do things they're not interested in, only distance them. If they keep coming to the meetings and you keep saying, you need to learn CW, or you need to do this, you need to do that, at some point they're going to stop coming. So, and believe it or not all Elmering has to be in person. There are all kinds of online communities now. There's this weird thing you might not have heard of. It's called YouTube. Okay, there is a wealth of information on YouTube on how to do stuff. Now, obviously, it's better if we can get the kid engaged in person, because then they have friends out there. But don't be afraid to say, that's interesting. I bet, so-and-so has a video on that, and pulling it up and letting that person be the Elmer there. And then, obviously, having a good Elmering program leads to good club strength. And last but... Sorry, I heard a squelch break. I was like, gross. Okay. Don't discount what somebody can offer just because they're young. Okay, we're going to take a time out for a field trip. Actually, can we hear? Look at her. She's like ready to run. Oh, so we're still good. We got a minute. Yeah, but that's not as cool as falling. Okay. Obviously, like I said, mentoring some of them gives them reason to want to mentor other people. Okay, so how do we reach people? I have all of these things in my office. You want to talk to a principal? I will gladly send them to you free of charge. I mean, you can buy them in the store, but don't. If you email me, I'll just send them to you. So what, buy them? I mean, I think they're actually free in the store, but you have to pay shipping or something. And I don't know how to charge you shipping, so I just don't. I just put it in an envelope, and then it hits my budget at some point. And then somebody says, why do you have so much in postage? And I'm like, well, you said reach more youth. Okay. Be ready and willing to discuss amateur radio with teachers, administrators. School board members are your best friend, regardless of what you see on the news. Because if you hook one school board member, you hook a whole district. You hook one principal, you hook a school. So get a school board member on. I mean, I still had the school board member on my site even after Jack White burned his finger. She thought it was really cool. She actually asked if it smelled like chicken. Okay. So school board members are your friends. Obviously, be ready to discuss what amateur radio offers and why it helps students. Now, I'm going to go ahead and somebody in here might throw something at me. It's okay. It's the end of the day. I'm going to shower shortly. I mean, it's only been a month. So please don't use MCOM as your outreach tool to schools. Okay? Not because of any personal belief on MCOM, but because you don't want a 12-year-old kid thinking he or she is going to save the world chasing a tornado down the street with their Baofeng. Let's just be reasonable for a minute. That is not that target audience. Okay? Teachers and principals need to hear how it's going to tie into standards, what the kids are going to learn, how it's going to elevate their STEM program. Okay? That's what that's about. Tell them about the scholarships that the ARRL Foundation has. If you are an amateur radio operator and you are active, you are eligible for up to $25,000 per year scholarship to school. Cost of attendance at University of Mississippi, what, 23-ish per year? Oh, wow, that's a full ride. That's pretty good. Okay, so bring that up because while principals can say no to a lot of things, they have a hard time saying no to free money for kids. Okay, and it doesn't take much. You have to be licensed, you have to be doing something with it. That's it. I mean, literally, the process is somebody from the foundation Zooms you and says, tell me what you like about amateur radio. And then your kid says, I like doing Parks on the Air because I get to beat my dad every single time we go, or whatever it was that she said. And then they say, oh, that's great. So she had a scholarship for school but didn't cover her second major. Here, have $15,000 to cover the difference. That's how that worked out. That's pretty good just for liking to go out and beat your dad in the park. That's the scholarship page. If you want it, I can send this to you. I went and I sort them by dollar amount and highlight the dollar amounts because if you actually get the opportunity to go in and talk to a principal or a teacher or a school board member, leave that with them on top. Because they're going to look at it and it's going to say, you know, wow, look at all these $25,000 scholarships. Look at all these $15,000. That's a lot of cash. And make sure you throw a little shade at them. Be like, I don't see anybody from the school on here. Or, you know, if you're really lucky, like Rhode Island, say, wow, nobody in the whole state? Really? Just saying. Okay, follow up and support. Once, you know, you actually start getting into schools, don't leave them stranded. Teachers are busy. Ask me how I know. Okay, so call them up every now and then. Say, hey, how's it going? Need any help with anything? Sometimes it might just be, yeah, can you come program this box about thanks because I kind of forgot. Okay. You know, do whatever it is they need to support them. Initial contact's not enough. I'm going to speed through this because I know Carlos is probably getting close to jumping. And, you know, offer to host kit bills for the teachers and students and the parents. Might mean you have to spend $1 or $2, but there's some really cheap kits out there. If it's a real sticking point, then maybe we can talk and figure something out. Okay. They don't have a bunch of cash available. So, you know, it's worthwhile if you're in a club to pass around the hat and say, if anybody's got any extra cash in your pocket, we want to have a kit build with the kids from, you know, so-and-so middle school. However many dollars end up in the box, buy something that they can all do. Yes, I do have a request for ideas for kits. And in fact, this young man right here, what was it you told me you like to do? He likes to do balloons, but he was interested in the kit building stuff. And kits are kind of cool. Now, you have a few options. Okay, if you're like even remotely computer, come on up here, bud. Come on, Eli, right? I have a personal bias against that name, but that's okay. I'm not going to hold it against you. Okay, so this is an Arduino kit. It's a super starter kit. It's like a microcontroller. It's the whole thing. I'm going to warn you, I might have dropped this at some point and broken the case, so don't let it fall over. Hang on, you're not done. Okay, and then this, see, every ham should understand electronics, right? And we're not going to tell anybody at the office I gave this away because this is supposed to be used for something else. So that's okay. Shh. Okay, so it's a basic electronics kit, and then and a whole book of, here, you do that part. Open the book. Let me see what's in the book. It's got lessons that teach kids everything from the very basics of it's breadboarding. It's got resistors. It's got all the basic stuff, and he can step all the way through. And by the end of the day, he actually understands electricity and electronics. It's amazing. It's $30. Okay, this is the kind of stuff. See, look at that. And a movie star. So So see, that's all it takes. He came up to me. He goes, "Yeah, this is what I'm interested in." I'm like, "I got something for you. Come see me." See, I got something for you tomorrow too. Okay, so congratulations, sir. All right, so make sure. Okay, so how can you help? Kids, you don't have to listen to this part because you don't have money. Okay, obviously being an ARRL member, if you are, thank you. I really don't think it gets said often enough. So I'll say thank you. Thank you for being a member. If you have the ability to join Diamond Club and help, thank you again, because it's not cheap. It cost me about $35,000 for 1 week at Teachers Institute. Okay, and I don't even put, like, I have to go to teacher conferences now to try to show teachers it's available. We don't even want to talk about how much that stuff costs. Okay, so if you have means, I would love to have you in Diamond Club. That's where I pulled that money from. Okay, so I know that you get a lot of mailings from ARRL saying, please send money. I get it. I get the same mailings. I work there and I still get the mailings. Okay, just decide what it is you're passionate about. If you have the means, pick that one thing. I'm just asking you, pick mine. I'm just going to be blunt, because the reality is the future of amateur radio is not me. It is not anybody in this room that is over 30 years old. Okay, sorry, Sterling, you are in the past, buddy. Okay, the future of amateur radio is it's education. We need to be more vigorous in STEM.